Good evening, Commissioners, staff and members of the public. I declare the Ordinary Council meeting of the 28th of January 2026 open at 5:30pm. I wish to acknowledge the Kariyarra people as the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on. I recognise their strength and resilience and pay my respects to Elders past, present and emerging. This meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded to facilitate community participation and for minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. In accordance with Clause 6.16 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law 2014, members of the public are not permitted to use any visual or audio electronic device or instrument to record the proceedings of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with Clause 6.174 of the Standing Orders, mobile telephones must be switched off and not used during the meeting. I note that all Commissioners are present and their attendance will be listed under item 3.1 of the minutes. There are no attendance by telephone, there are no apologies, there are no approved leave of absence requests. Does anyone wish to declare an interest for any of the items in the agenda this evening? CEO.
Good evening, Commissioner. Yes, I'd like to declare a financial interest in relation to item number 15.1. It is a financial interest as my contract as the temporary CEO is limited based on the employment of the substantive Chief Executive Officer, even though I'm not an applicant in the role, Commissioner.
Thank you, CEO. Any other conflicts to declare? There being no applications, CEO, do we have any applications for leave of absence?
None received.
Okay, I have a procedural motion. I move that Council amend the 28 January 2026 Ordinary Council Meeting Order of Business as set out in Council Policy 1/107 to deal with item 8, announcements by the presiding member without discussion, before item 5, response to previous questions. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back. I trust that all of you had a pleasant and restful holiday period, and to the staff as well. I hope they've come back with their batteries recharged, because we've got quite a year ahead of us this year. Of course, the first thing that it is very important to note is that the local government elections are now rapidly coming upon us. Enrolments close on the 30th of January, so if you take nothing else away, please enrol to vote. If you intend to nominate to run, and indeed we've had some fantastic feedback from people, nominations to run open on the 12th of February. Voting itself is on the 28th of March. We've established 2 places where you can vote in Port and in South Hedland, and very shortly we'll be releasing details about community information sessions, all about what running for council is all about. And my colleague Commissioner Jurovic has put his hand up. I don't think what he doesn't know about local government isn't worth knowing, and so a great brain to pick if you are thinking about putting your hand up and running for council. So we really do encourage people to step forward and be part of the town's future. In line with thinking about the town's future, tonight we will be considering the recruitment of the CEO. It's been a very lengthy process, but it is essential to the stability of the town of Port Hedland, as I've consistently said over many meetings. Ensuring the organisation has strong, competent leadership as it enters a really important new phase. There will be a new council, there's a new Local Government Act, there's a new inspector. There is a whole new environment into which this new council will operate, and it's essential that we have steady, experienced and competent leadership in place. We'll also be considering, as some of you may have seen, the community survey. The results were grave but not unexpected, reflecting the sentiments disclosed to us as commissioners by community members, stakeholders, staff, and revealing a deep level of community frustration with the council. It highlights the impact that instability and a lack of leadership has on an organisation and on the broader community, and it underscores the importance of organisational improvement and institutional strengthening, and I'll have a bit more to say about that when the item comes up for consideration. But it does underscore the importance of the work we've been trying to do here in the very limited amount of time available to us, about just steadying the ship, reinstituting normal practices and trying to assist the the administration to get its ducks in a row in readiness for the new council on the 29th of March. In good news, we turned the sod on the JD Hardy Stage 3 project, which is very exciting. We opened the Curly Witty playground, a really great community day. We welcome very much the tender for the water, that the Water Corp, or the expression of interest process that the Water Corporation has announced in the last week. We met with Minister Punch to raise the very serious concerns that people had expressed to us about water supply, and we're very pleased to see that those concerns have been heard and that Water Corporation has initiated a process to secure water supply for the people of Port Hedland. I want to acknowledge the award that the town of Port Hedland received for the Spoilbank Marina project. An incredible event, like there would have been 1,000 odd people there, I'd say. And at the Institute for Public Administration Awards, it's a big event. I've been a number of times. And the town of Port Hedland won the Best Practice in Collaboration Across Government Agencies Award, so I want to congratulate the staff on that. Of course, on Australia Day, it was on Monday, and it was my great privilege to preside over the citizenship ceremony, which is special for me because many years ago I was taking that affirmation, and it was such a happy event. And so congratulations to all our new Australians. I also want to extend a very warm congratulations to all of our Citizen of the Year Award recipients. Our young community citizen, Matilda Thompson, our senior community citizen, Uncle George Pitt, our active citizen group, the Hearts Hedland Arts Council, and our Citizen of the Year, Shalene Ramahana. I tell you, in this job, we've met some absolutely incredible people, and it was a true privilege to attend that ceremony and just feel the vibe in the room. It's a great community to have been part of, Port Hedland. So that closes my comments. All the meetings of the Commissioners for November and December 2025 have been included in this evening's agenda. So I move on now to response to previous questions. Response to questions taken on notice at the 26 November 25 Ordinary Council meeting, the 10 December 2025 Ordinary Council meeting, and the 22nd of December Special Council meeting have been included in the updated agenda, which can be seen online. Copies have been sent to members of the public, and are available for viewing in the lobby tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, item 6, public time. This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council. Clause 6.733 of the Town of Port Hedland's Standing Orders Local Law requires members of the public wishing to ask a question to complete a question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. If myself, as the presiding member, determines that questions or statements are out of order due to the use of offensive or objectionable expressions or are defamatory, they will not be considered recorded nor responded to. Public questions are allocated a minimum of 15 minutes under the Act. Public questions and statements received in writing will be provided the opportunity to present first, followed by other members of the public. I declare public question time open at 5:38 p.m. CEO, have we received any questions prior to the meeting?
Chair, no questions been received in writing.
Okay, great. Do any members of the public wish to ask questions? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and suburb. Please remember to fill in a public question time form if you haven't already done so.
Thank you. Camillo Blanco, Holwell Way, Wedgeville. Just in relation to the special council meeting on the 22nd December 25, the amended motion 4 states a request that the existing business case dated December 2025 be updated in light of the matters listed in item 3, which I'm sure you're aware of. So can I ask why the business case was not publicised in the attachments?
because it was incomplete. So I think you'll observe that in the resolution that council passed, there are a whole range of matters that the commissioners asked the administration to go away and take another look at. And so there had been some documentation provided to us that had commercially sensitive information, but we formed the view that there was quite a bit more information that was required in order to constitute a complete business case, and therefore we asked the administration to go away and do that work.
Thanks. On the same night, you've also adjusted the budget, increased the budget for the land purchase. So can I ask, has the town, or is the town, both, going to be putting an offer in on that land before the business case is advertised and updated?
Well, Mr Blanco, you've been around the traps a very long time. I'm not going to say one way or another what decision a council may make in the future. The council of the day will make a decision at the time. What we've done is we have provisioned for a sum, and it will be subject to the ordinary decision-making processes of council as to whether a business case is approved and a purchase is authorised.
Okay, I don't think you understood the question, but...
We'll have a go again if you'd like. You can use your third question for clarification.
No, I don't want to use my third question for clarification.
You're very welcome to, but just in case.
It's
Please,
okay.
your
I can do it in statement time, and I'll give you the outline.
Third question, please.
So why, Chair, your responsibility to make sure the agenda items are correct for presentation, why allow a proposal like this to be brought to the council in a special council meeting at the end of the financial year, at the end of the year, without an updated business case?
I don't know what sort of council processes or what sort of councils that you've had the privilege to serve on, but there is such a thing as deliberative decision-making, where you are very entitled as a council to go behind closed doors and to consider the information that is provided to you by the officers. So the papers are given to us by officers. There's usually an officer's recommendation, and then it is the duty of councillors to consider the work that's put before us, and we will deliberate. And in this particular instance, we took quite some time to deliberate because these are important decisions. They need to be attended to in a very thorough way, and as we've identified, or as we've just discussed, we felt as commissioners that the papers that were submitted to us were not sufficient for us to make a decision, so we deliberated. It's the democratic process in action, Mr Camillo and Mr Blanco. It may not be a process that you're altogether that familiar with, but that's how councils operate. And it was well within our rights to, as I say, consider the papers that were put before us and recommend that the council go away and do a little more work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Ash Christensen, South Hedland. Before I shoot into my questions, I don't know if I need to let you guys know, but I've just heard the disclosure of interest. I was on the website just recently. I didn't see any 15 agenda items on there, so just I don't know if you need to update it for any reason or not. Just thought I'd give you a heads up. So
I believe it is on the website. Can I just refer that to the staff on 15.1? I think it's been checked earlier today.
I just pulled it up now. It's not there. I'll just give you a heads up.
Thank you. We'll have the team check that.
Yes, thank you. Question one. What is the intended long-term... So my questions refer to item 12.4.1 in tonight's business papers. First question is, what is the intended long-term use of the old Bowls Club building, and when was that decision formally endorsed by council or yourselves as the commissioners?
Thank you for the question. My understanding is that there hasn't been a long-term use settled yet for the Bowls Club, but that the work is required to make it safe. But I'll turn over to the CEO.
Through the chair, yes. And I think the report actually talks about wind shielding and making sure that that building is safe. That future determination will need to be considered by councillors as to how they want to use that building.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Mr Christensen. Commissioner Aldridge has just jumped onto the website and item 15.1 is on the agenda. So just to,
Yeah, right. Well,
you know, ease your mind.
yeah, good to know. Second question. In the report on 12.4.1, it clearly states that a clear scope of works and project plan have yet to be determined to provide a more accurate cost estimation. Given this, yourselves as commissioners making a decision tonight, how are you confident in approving a $1.135 million budget at this stage, as it represents in relation to sound governance and responsible financial decision making, if there's no yet a plan or of attack or anything like that?
Well, as I say, there have been certain critical works that do need to be done, and that has been discussed with us. So we have provisioned a sum for that. I'll turn over to the CEO.
Through the chair. No, I think, and again, Commissioner, that's an item that the council, through the commissioners, need to consider this evening when we put those financial commitments in there.
All right, thank you. Last question. Can the administration clarify what the Town of Port Hedland's policies or project management framework state is the default contingency percentage for projects, and how that contingency applies to the contingencies aligned to the report in this 12.4.1?
The CEO.
Through the chair. I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
I mumble a lot, sorry. So, in a nutshell, what does Town of Port Hedland's policies or project framework state as the default contingency assigned to projects as a whole, and how has the Town of Port Hedland used those documents to come up with the 30% contingency that's in this current report?
So, through the chair, we do have a project management office. We run a project management component to it, and from that there's a whole series of risks and assessments that are put together, and a series of costs. That specific item in relation to the, I guess, how the determinations were made, through you, Commissioner, I'd probably ask the Director of Infrastructure if she wanted to comment further.
Depending on what the project is would depend on what sort of contingency there is. So what we are dealing with here is there are some unknowns, so we're not sure if we are going to have to do a whole lot more electrical work. So we've built in a 30% contingency for that, and then we will just go through and do that project. We may not need it all, but that was our best scope. Because of the building and because of the lack of maintenance over many years, that then we only know what we know, and we will be able to then, once we get a contractor on board, understand if there are any latent conditions in that building.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, there being no further questions, I declare... Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Please state your name and address.
Thank you for having us. My question would be, what CHI does for the community, Aboriginal community, just in South Hedland and Port Hedland? The crime rates are rising, and I believe that out of the police's hand, have you got a ranger program or warden scheme that's be done by Town of Port Hedland to help drive the town? Because the town what I've seen, I grew up in Port Hedland. I lived all my life here. I've seen this town grow from better to worse. Now the towns, especially in South Hedland, towns are worse. The playground, what you're doing, it's been all destroyed. The one in the park in South Hedland, that's kids always breaking up. And it's a good thing what you do for the kids, but there is no control beyond that. You need just asking question if there's a warden scheme or ranger program. Thank you.
Yes, look, thank you for the question. I appreciate your concerns about community safety and completely understand how concerning that is for you. In terms of ranger programs or warden schemes, that would not be something that is typically the town, a local government responsibility. So that would typically be something that the state government would usually have some sort of a ranger programs in particular, I know, are the remit of the state government. I do think we have security cameras installed, and so I might ask the administration to comment on that. But as you point out as well, there's also a range of youth activities. So I'll turn over to the CEO.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for that question. And the Council's also working closely with police and youth through its community development on the Guardian program and another number of other initiatives to try and look at those crime matters. But I think in detail, I'd ask the Director of Community Development if she can perhaps give you a more rounded question as to how staff and the Council's working with some of the community.
Thank you, through the Chair. Look, great question. So currently our team is actually working with Raelene Button in regards to the Ranger program. We've been sharing information from state government. She's actually been away on sorry time, but she has made an appointment to come back, and we're going to start working on that together. So our role as local government, we can advocate and support her organisation to make this happen. As we progress, we will be bringing the wider community, our elders, together. I believe one of my staff has already started that process with the elders from your community, but you'll be hearing more about this in the next couple of weeks. As the CEO had indicated, we have also been working with Raelene and a number of other organisations to put in place a Guardians program at our swimming pools pre-Christmas, and it's been running through and will finish, well, probably may continue through to February, and that's become quite successful. And we've been working with, again, our elders to train our staff to make sure that we are dealing with our communities appropriately and culturally.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Linda Driddy, -Dewdgeby as my family name. I was actually born in Bilgangura, if you know where that is, as is where Pilbara Minerals are mining lithium. And so as a Nyamal person and an elder, I too have grown here in Port Hedland and seen quite significant change in terms of culture, in terms of the Aboriginal culture, and opposite to that, it's the Waibelers culture, like you non-Indigenous people. This town has grown. And I was not happy the way in which, not knowing how the council make decisions, basically. And I've worked in government for a period of over 40 years, by the way. First Aboriginal girl from the Pilbara, Port Hedland, in fact, joined in public service at the Postmaster General in Forest Chase. So I have a great experience and knowledge having worked in public service.
So would you like to make a public statement for 5 minutes, or would you like to ask a question? You can do both.
My statement is as following.
Look, this is question time, so you can ask questions now,
My
then
question
you can make a statement
is
as well if you'd like.
Yeah. As I've heard this lady here mention the Garriata, traditional owners, but there are many of us as traditional owners as we've grown up in this town, as I have as a young person. So my concern is that to date, I was very not in the know as to what the council's obligation was as to sit here to manage our town of Port Hedland. So my question is there a collective engagement with non-Indigenous people as well as other nationalities that we could come together and sit to make better decisions for the growth of the future of Port Hedland? Thank you.
Thank you, that's an excellent question. I'll turn over to the CEO.
Thank you. So the Local Government Act was specifically amended in section 3.1 of the Local Government Act to look at consultation and involvement with Aboriginal peoples within the district. But in relation to specific programs, I'd probably like to refer it to my Director of Community Development to answer that question.
Through you, the Chair, definitely support everything you've just said. It is part of a project that the Community Services team is undergoing. So it's not just about reaching out to our current organisations that we do, but we know that there's been gaps in regards to ensuring that our Aboriginal community are well engaged, and our aim is to fix that.
I hope so in the future that
Yep.
we do interact and engage collectively rather than individually.
Are there any further questions? All right, there being no further questions, I declare question time closed at 5:56 p.m. and I declare public statement time open at 5:56 p.m. Have we received any public statements, CEO?
None received in writing, Chairman.
Do any members of the public wish to make a public statement? Please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. Please remember
Thank
to fill
you.
in a public statement time form if you haven't already done so.
Camillo Blanco, Harwell Way, Wedgfield. In relation to the 22nd December special council meeting, it was stated that there was a business case that was reviewed on the night, December 2025, I think it said in the item. Now, obviously, you commissioners have advertised widely that you're very experienced, in government and local government. So I would have just thought you would have known that a business case, the premise of a business case is that it is advertised to the community, and then the community, and then there is a request for comment on that business case. So as the business case has already been done for the service workers housing, there was no reason at all for that business case to not be in the agenda in the attachments. So we could all have a look to see if it was the same business case as what was advertised previously. That is just logical in my opinion. And, it should have been advertised so we could have a look, but clearly it was not. And to say that, it was confidential is incorrect. It's already been advertised. It's already been out for public comment. So it should have been in the agenda so we could have a look. Now, if there was a new business case that we haven't seen as, the people, then obviously it should have been advertised again, all right, and gone out to public comment again. Because clearly what I spoke about on the night was that the agenda item was significantly different to what was proposed previously. So I would like to see that business case to see what differences there was from the previous one to the one that yous have considered. And, obviously this information has been put to you before the meeting. You would have had briefings on it. You would have been told, what has happened. And, clearly there's an issue because the stuff that we spoke about on the night was, inserted into the amended recommendation. So, you know, there's clearly a disconnect between the administration and the current commissioners on, you know, the proper information being put to you. That's what I can see from sitting in the gallery. And, you know, to bring such a significant proposal to the council for a decision at the end of the year, it's a classic government ploy to push things through when nobody is interested in what's happening, you know, and what decisions are being made because it's the Christmas period. But to have something like this, such a significant, you know, decision made at the end of the year in a special council meeting days before Christmas, you know, in my opinion, that's clearly, you know, not the proper way to go. And it's not open and accountable, you know, to the people of Hedland. And I think you commissioners should, you know, take note of that, considering the amount of money that
You have
is
30 seconds.
proposed to be spent on this. And once again, a proposal like this is a state government responsibility. I've said it time and time again. And local government should not be investing tens of millions of dollars in a state responsibility. Housing is for the state government, not for local government.
So I don't accept the premise or the premises contained in your statement at all.
Can I rebut yours?
No, unfortunately, Mr. Blanco, you're not on council, and I have the call. And I do have a right under the standing orders to respond to comments that are made. You do not know what was in the papers. There was commercially sensitive information in there that did not make it appropriate for that information to be publicly known. And and as you quite rightly point out, you in previous councils considered a business case. That is not the same as the documents that were presented to us. And considering the commercially sensitive nature of the matters in the papers before us, we were well within our rights to maintain the confidentiality of that meeting. You might like to see what was different. Well, you'll need to be on council in order to do that. And in terms of the information and the briefings that we received, yes, we did receive information and we did receive briefings. And as I say, we gave these matters incredibly serious consideration because, as you rightly point out, it would be, if that decision was taken, a significant financial commitment for the town of Port Hedland, and it's important that decisions like that are taken with the best possible information. Now, it is wholly incorrect to say that there was a decision taken on the night or that things were pushed through before Christmas. There was no significant decision about financial expenditure at all taken on the night. There was a decision by the council taken requesting the administration to go ahead and to do some more work on the proposal and to bring it back to us. So I can't think of a more appropriate and proper process than to have submissions made by council administration to council for us to consider that, to deliberate, to discuss, and if we don't think that it's appropriate for us to form a decision, to then send it back to administration. We're not just going to roll over and accept everything that's bowled up to us by administration. That's what people expect us to do when we're appointed as commissioners, and that's also, I think, what people expect their elected representatives to do, to go through a process, test and assess the information and make decisions accordingly. Are there any further public statements? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Ash Christensen, South Hedland Place. My report, my statement again refers to the item of 12.4.1 I want to be clear from the outset that I'm not opposed to renewing this facility, nor am I disputing the compliance risk identified inside the independent audit. My concern relates to the governance, accountability, and whether the approach being taken reflects sound asset management practices and lessons learnt over recent experiences within inside the town. The report states clearly, a clear scope of works and project plan have yet to be determined to provide more accurate cost estimation. That sentence matters because, to me, it confirms that you, the Commissioners, are being asked to approve a $1.135 million budget without a defined project, final scope, or an agreed delivery plan. From a government's perspective, I find it difficult to reconcile with this as best practice. A statement that wraps up my thoughts nicely is, once you approve a budget before a plan, you shouldn't be surprised when the plan grows to fit the budget. My second concern relates to the intended use of the building, or lack thereof, that we've heard tonight. Compliance is not generic. It's always use-based. Without a formally endorsed operating model or intended use, it is difficult to be confident that the compliance works being proposed tonight will not need to be revised once the use is later determined. Compliance without an agreed use is guesswork, and it's not asset planning. This is not hypothetical. The town has experienced this before. The Headland Yacht Club has followed an almost identical pathway. Compliance works were approved without a stated plan for the future use, and over time, additional funding requests were brought forward as new non-conformances emerged once the building's use had changed. What began as a compliance project quickly became a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project within the town. The inclusion of a significant generic aesthetic component, which the report itself notes is not required for compliance, highlights why clarity of a purpose and scope is so important before budgets of this scale are approved. I'm concerned that this project may be on a similar trajectory as the Yacht Club, not because of intent, but because of foundational decisions around purpose, scope and delivery remaining unresolved at this stage. I also want to address a statement that was in the report which states, under the previous lease, all maintenance activities was the responsibility of the club. I consider this sentence or this statement to be problematic. As presented, it in my opinion, operates as a throwaway line which attributes responsibility and, in its implication, blame to a non-for-profit organisation that no longer exists nor has the opportunity to respond here tonight. In my view, it's not appropriate nor professional way to frame the history of a community asset such as a bowls club. The Town of Port Hedland is and always has been the owner of this facility, and that ownership carries an ongoing duty of care to the community regardless of whether the asset was leased or leased upon. Taken together, I'm concerned that the Commissioners here tonight are being asked to approve an enabling budget, absent of a final scope, without endorsed use guiding compliance decisions, and against a backdrop where scope certainty has not yet been established. I want to be clear, I'm always open to be persuaded otherwise. So if you, the Commissioners, are satisfied that the approving this budget now is appropriate, I would genuinely welcome hearing the justification for your positions during your debate here tonight, particularly how the governance risks I've just raised are being actively managed. My intent in raising these matters is not to delay necessary works, but is to ensure that the seven-figure investment is approved. It is approved with is supporting by clarity of purpose, financial discipline, and a delivery framework that gives the community confidence that this will no longer become another long-running, escalating project such as the Yacht Club. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sorry, are there any further public statements? Okay, there being no further public statements, I declare public time closed at 6:09 p.m. Item 6.3, petitions, deputations, presentations and submissions. I declare that open at, 6:09 p.m. CEO, have we received any petitions, deputations, presentations or submissions?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to make a petition, deputation, presentation or submission? Okay, no. In that case, We move on to item 7, questions from commissioners without notice. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Okay. Announcements by presiding member without discussion we have covered. Item 9, declarations of commissioners to have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting. I invite all commissioners to declare by a show of hands that they've given due consideration to all matters contained in the agenda. Thank you. Item 10, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. The recommendations from the officers are on the screen. We have 3 officers' recommendations that require a simple majority vote. For the first officer's recommendation, that Council confirm the minutes of the ordinary Council meeting held on 26 November 2025 are a true and correct record. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder? I second. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
No.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. The second officer's recommendation, that Council confirm the minutes of the ordinary Council meeting held on the 10th of December 2025 are a true and correct record. Can I have a mover?
I move.
And a seconder?
Motion?
Does anyone wish to speak?
No, thank you.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. The third officer's recommendation, that Council confirm the minutes of the special Council meeting held on the 22nd of December 2025 are a true and correct record. Can I have a mover?
I so move the motion.
And a seconder?
And I second the motion.
Anyone wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 11, reports of committees. There are no reports of committees. Item 12, reports of officers. Item 12.1, corporate services, statement of financial activity. The officer's recommendation is, as appears on the screen, that requires a simple majority vote.
I so move.
Thank you. And can I have a seconder?
I second the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak?
No, thank you.
As no one wishes to speak, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.2, community services. There are no reports. Item 12.3, regulatory services. There are no reports. Item 12.4, infrastructure services, South Headland Bowls Club renewal, budget increase, justification and scope expansion. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move the officer's recommendation.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes.
Thank
I
you,
will.
Commissioner Aldridge.
Thanks, Chair. And I'm cognizant of the questions and the public statement that we've heard tonight with respect to this item. And interestingly, they're strikingly similar to some of the questions that I asked in the coming weeks to this, leading up to this council meeting. It's interesting, and I've had an opportunity to visit the Bowls Club and actually understand some of the history and indeed meet with some of the stakeholders who are interested in potentially entering into some form of lease or other arrangement with the town in the future. But one of the things that does satisfy me is that there is a future use for the facility, and I don't think we ought to sugarcoat the fact that this is probably stage 1 of the works, and I think there will be further requirements with respect to, or potentially with respect to further stages, depending upon the final use of the precinct, which could be a combination of things, not necessarily just sport and recreation. And so I do have a degree of confidence. I mean, there would be perhaps other local governments in the state where you wouldn't want to invest money in a building where you didn't have a high degree of confidence that that building would be used. And if you look at the information that has been presented in the report, and keep in mind this decision, so the budget that we as commissioners inherited had a $250,000 budget allocation. What this officer's recommendation is doing is increasing that by a sum of $885,000 to a total of $1.135 million. And when you look through the list, they are really just the core fundamentals: electrical, plumbing, structural, ventilation, air conditioning. And the report does anticipate that there are going to be further investments that will need to be made in the future. But what I have heard quite strongly from the community when I've engaged and visited the Bowls Club is that it certainly does have a future. And I think what we wanted to do was ensure that that we weren't just investing in something that had a bad skeleton, for want of a better phrase, that it actually, the foundations are good and these investments are worthwhile, as opposed to should we clear the slate and start again. And obviously the advice that we've received, and commissioners did give this quite considerable consideration in briefing sessions to make sure that we were satisfied with moving forward with this budget adjustment. I'm sure it won't satisfy everybody's point of view with respect to this facility, but I think it does have a good future, and I think it will be up to the next council to decide on its ultimate use and benefit to the community.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurovic, do you have anything to add? Okay, great. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority.
Sorry, Chairman, did we pick up just the seconder on that one there?
It was one, yeah. Okay, item 12.4.2, request to call tenders, caretaker period. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I move 12.4.2, officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Aldridge.
I just want to make a few remarks on this, and it's important to consider the context, and it's also important that this recommendation is passed by council, because the work of the town needs to continue in a year that has been quite disruptive to the town's operation, and I need not remind the community there was in effect a council able to make decisions between 25 August and 3 September when commissioners were ultimately appointed, and one of our first and highest priorities was the passage of a late budget, which was adopted on the 24th of September 2025, almost 3 months after the commencement of the financial year. Obviously, what's also going to disrupt the town's operations is the looming caretaker period, which will cover some 7 weeks and will place restrictions further on the town's operation. So it will be a year that will impact on delivery from the town's perspective. Now, I do want to just clarify a couple of aspects with respect to the officer's report. It says on page 38 of the agenda that the town of Port Hedland enters into caretaker period from the 12th of February 2026 to the 2nd of April 2026, and I'm not sure that's entirely the case, and I just want to clarify, at least from my perspective, that we do indeed enter caretaker period from the close of nominations on the 12th, which is from 4 p.m. on the 12th of February. But when we come out of caretaker is ultimately a decision of when the returning officer declares the result of the election, and it is the day after that day. And so I do just want to clarify that aspect of the report, and obviously it is defined in, for those who want to look it up, section 1.4 capital A of the Local Government Act. Obviously, with preferential elections, the counting of votes isn't as straightforward as perhaps it once was, and so we've notionally, the council has notionally listed swearing in of the new council for the 2nd of April, but that may not be the case, and it will ultimately determine on the progress of the election count and when the returning officer, who is obviously independent from us, makes a declaration of the election result. So I just wanted to make that point of clarification in the report, but otherwise I support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. The rub of that is that people might have to put up with us for longer than they expect. Commissioner Jurovic, do you wish to make any comments?
Thanks, Chair. Only to say that it's extremely important that the repairs and maintenance that are obviously called for and budgeted for continue, even though we are entering into a caretaker period. It's council doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.4.3, RFT 252612, pre and post cyclone green waste collection program. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote that counts. Can I have a mover?
I'm just wondering about the figures. It's actually not on the screen.
Ah, and it's not in my. It's not in here either.
Sorry, Commissioner, just through to the governance team. Can we just pick that up on the figures?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Okay, I've got it if you want me to move it.
Does governance have it at hand? You do. Is it up on the screen? That reflected in yours. Okay, so I'll read the motion out, just out of an abundance of caution. The motion is that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract for the award of RFT 252612 to Norcape Tree and Contracting Services Proprietary Limited for the total amount of $660,000 excluding GST for the period of 5 years, 3 + 3 + 1, being $132,000 per annum excluding GST. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
No.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.4.4, Contract 181946, undercharged invoices, December 2024 to June 2025. I have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And seconder?
Begrudgingly, I'll second that.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
I'll just make a few brief remarks, Chair, in that this is a particular item that the Commissioners have invested quite a bit of interest in to make sure that due diligence has been done, and I think, at least from my perspective, we're satisfied that despite the circumstances, and we hope that they don't arise again, that the town has adequately discharged its responsibilities with ensuring that these monies are indeed owed.
Commissioner Jurovich?
Thanks, Chair. I would just note that in the real world, as far as I'm concerned, the contractor should have picked this up a lot earlier. And I know the numbers do show that. However, their systems obviously failed badly, and the ratepayers got away with it for a while, so I suppose they've been getting interest on that money. But as I said, begrudgingly second and support that.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovich. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 12.4.5, award of the Hamilton Road Upgrade 1C. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that doesn't have the monetary amounts in it. So the officer's recommendation is that Council authorise Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract for the awarding of RFT 252615 Hamilton Road Upgrade 1C to Fulton Hogan for the amount of $5,788,651 on condition that commercial terms can be concluded. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And seconder?
Second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.5, Executive Services. Item 12.5.1, Community Sentiment Survey 2025. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. I wish to speak to this motion. I want to speak frankly about the results of the 2025 Community Sentiment Survey and what they tell us about where the town of Port Hedland has been and how they have shaped the work we've been doing to stabilise the organisation and prepare for a return to elected council in March. I want to be very clear about the timing and purpose of this survey. It was conducted through August and September last year, and it reflects community perceptions of the town at that point in time following many years of instability and governance failures. The results closely align with what we were hearing when we commenced from staff, from community members and from external stakeholders and partner organisations. And in a sense, this survey is not a surprise, it's a baseline. And it is consistent, and it's perhaps part of the evidence base that's formed our program of work. The headline results are confronting. As a governing organisation, the town of Port Hedland received an overall performance score of 21 out of 100. That is around 30 points below the industry average, placing the town among the lowest performing local governments nationally on this measure. Livability, how people rate Port Hedland as a place to live, sits at 44 out of 100. Again, roughly 30 points below the industry average. These are not marginal results. They reflect a serious loss of confidence in local government. And it's important to say this plainly. These results did not emerge overnight. They reflect years of instability and the cumulative impact that that has on trust. It's important to consider that the weakest results in the survey are overwhelmingly about leadership, direction, and governance. Only 9% of respondents agree that the town had a clear vision for the future or good understanding of community needs. Council leadership, financial management, communication, community engagement and overall governance sit well below industry benchmarks and in some cases place Port Hedland among the worst performing councils in the country that participate in this benchmarking. It's difficult to hear, but it's necessary to acknowledge. Because what the community is telling us is it's not just services that matter, they are telling us that how the town is governed matters. The survey also shows that in several key areas, performance has declined since 2023, particularly in governance and leadership. Governance scores alone fell by 11 points in 2 years, and that tells us something important. Instability has consequences. When leadership churns, when decision-making feels inconsistent, when normal council practices break down, trust erodes quickly. And the survey captures the cumulative effect of that experience. There are, however, signs of stability and improvement, so it's not a picture of failure everywhere. Core services, including waste management, library services, marine facilities and volunteer support, are performing at or better than industry averages and in some cases have stabilised or improved over time. And that matters. It tells us that frontline staff and volunteers continue to deliver, often in difficult circumstances. The issue the community is identifying is not a lack of effort, it's a system-level governance problem. This survey, together with the internal and external feedback we've received on commencement, has directly informed the Commissioner's program of work. Our role has not been to fix everything overnight, it's been to stabilise the organisation, restore the fundamentals of good governance and prepare the town for the return to elected council. Since our appointment, we've worked with the administration and focused on rebuilding the basics. We've passed a budget, restoring financial certainty and enabling the organisation to plan and deliver. We've adopted a council plan, providing a clear framework for priorities, accountability and decision-making. Tonight we will consider the recruitment of a permanent CEO, a critical step in restoring stable leadership. We've improved the conduct of council meetings, reinstating normal council practices, clearer procedures and more orderly decision-making. We've worked to reset expectations around governance and around behaviours, including respect for roles, the administration, process and transparency. And we've begun the groundwork for a major strategic review so the next elected council inherits a clear understanding of the challenges and opportunities, not just unresolved problems. Alongside this, we're undertaking an internal organisational health check. That work will identify areas for improvement in culture, systems and capability and will help set the incoming CEO and the new council up for success. This sequencing is deliberate. Strong leadership without a healthy organisation will fail. A new council without stable foundations will struggle. This survey, the fact that so many people responded, tells us something very important, that people care deeply about the future of this town. The long-form comments were a challenging read, but reflected the fact that people have great ideas on how we can do better to take the town forward. We're also seeing other things that are genuinely encouraging. We're receiving very positive feedback from the community, from people who are seriously considering putting their hand up to help lead this town forward. And to those people, I'd encourage you to read this survey carefully. Don't be discouraged by it, but understand what it reflects. It shows the cost of how things used to be done. It should prompt a different question. How could things be done better? Local government only improves when capable people are willing to step forward, set higher standards, and do the work of governing well. The election in March is an opportunity for renewal. If you care about this place, I encourage you to consider standing, and if standing isn't right for you, then at the very least make sure you're enrolled to vote, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. This survey is not the end of the story, it's a line in the sand and a clear signal that the people of Port Hedland expect and deserve better local government. Do any other commissioners wish to make a comment?
No, thank you.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Just on a couple of things. First of all, I've been involved in a few of these over the years. And I must say, and no doubt back then when they decided to move the motion to go into this, there'd be a bit of concern, because it doesn't matter how well your councils run, when you go out there to get the bare facts from the people out there who can make comments without being targeted or anything like that, this is what you get. I've seen these before. I haven't seen this one this bad, quite frankly. And the thing that gets me here is the participation rate went down a third, from 1,055 people down to about 695 people, participants. That tells a story in itself. But the one good thing about it, in my view, the only thing about this is the only way is up from here. So there are a challenge on the table for the incoming council, and they've got a good, solid report to work from. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 13, new business of an urgent nature. There are none. Item 14, motions of which previous notice has been given. There are none. Item 15, matters for which a meeting may be closed, confidential item. At this time, I'd like to move that Council close the meeting to members of the public as prescribed in section 5.232 of the Local Government Act 1995 to consider item 15.1, Chief Executive Officer recruitment. Can I have a mover?
So move.
So move.
Thank you. Seconder. Who was the quick draw there? I think it was Councillor Jurovic and seconded by... Sorry, Commissioner, sorry. Oh, it's the post-Tasmania fog hasn't lifted. ladies and gentlemen. I'd now like to read the decisions of Council on the confidential matter discussed in item 15.1, Chief Executive Officer recruitment. We had three officers' recommendations before us that required simple and absolute majority votes. Resolution 1, that Council 1 receives the unconfirmed minutes attachment 10 of the Chief Executive Officer Recruit and Selection Committee held 20th of January 2026. The motion was carried 3-0 by simple majority. Resolution number 2, that Council 1 notes that the Chief Executive Officer Recruitment and Selection Committee has assessed each applicant's knowledge, experience, qualifications and skills against the selection criteria as summarised in attachment 1. B, selected 2 of the applicants as identified in attachment 1 as applicant A and applicant B to progress to the final stages of the selection process. C, has in relation to each of applicant A and applicant B, 1, assessed each as having demonstrated that their knowledge, experience, qualifications and skills meet the selection criteria. 2, verified the academic or other tertiary level qualifications each claim to hold. And 3, by contacting referees, see attachment 2, and arranging psychometric testing, see attachment 3, verified the character, work history, skills, performance and other claims made by each. D, considers that applicant A and applicant B are each suitably qualified for employment in the position of Chief Executive Officer and that applicant A is the preferred applicant. And 2, notes that the Chief Executive Officer Recruitment and Selection Committee, in accordance with paragraph 10 of its terms of reference A, has undertaken, with the assistance of a consultant, a review of its effectiveness. B, endorses the report of that review as set out in attachment 5. This motion was carried 3-0 by simple majority. Resolution on recommendation 3. Recommendation 3, that Council 1 adopts the recommendations of the Chief Executive Officer Recruitment and Selection Committee, being that Council A approves the making of an offer to employ applicant A in the position of Chief Executive Officer, and if the offer to employ applicant A is not accepted or does not otherwise result in the employment of applicant A, approves the making of an offer to applicant B in the position of Chief Executive Officer, absolute majority of Council required. B, approves the terms of the proposed employment contract, absolute majority of Council required. C, authorises Chairperson of Commissioners, Commissioner Jessica Shaw, 1, to conduct any negotiations with applicant A in relation to the proposed employment contract. 2, to accept any minor amendments to the proposed employment contract that are consistent with the advertised remuneration and benefits. And 3, if the offer to employ applicant A is not accepted or does not otherwise result in the employment of applicant A, 1, to conduct any negotiations with applicant B in relation to the proposed employment contract, and 2, to accept any minor amendments to the proposed employment contract that are consistent with the advertised remuneration and benefits. D, authorises the affixing of the common seal to the proposed employment contract as varied with any minor amendments accepted under 1C2 or 1C32, as the case may be above. E, authorises the Chairperson of Commissioners, Commissioner Jessica Shaw, to disclose the name and commencement date of the Chief Executive Officer after the execution of the proposed employment contract. And F, notes that if applicant A or applicant B, as the case may be, proposes amendments to the proposed employment contract that are not minor amendments accepted under 1C2 or 1C32 above, as the case may be, the amendments must be approved by an absolute majority of Council before the contract is executed. And 2, endorses the report of the review of the Committee's effectiveness as set out in attachment 5. Recommendation 3 was carried 3-3 by absolute majority. 3-0, sorry. Yeah, 3-0. See. Oh, sorry. 3-0. Item 16. And just before we move on from that, thank you to all the staff for their assistance with the process. And to all the candidates who applied for their patience. Item 16, closure. 16.1, the next ordinary meeting of Council will be held on Wednesday, 25th of February 2026, commencing at 5:30 p.m. Item 16.2, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 6:54 p.m. I thank Commissioners, members of the public, the CEO and staff for their attendance.